So all of our life is very interesting, and the way that everything appears as art. Life is beauty, life is art, and everything is artistic. How the universe came about and how everything is like arranged. It's pretty beautiful. So one of my favorite songs, my favorite hymns actually, is How Great Thou Art. I really love it because like it really moves me to some extent. I really like it, especially the Elvis version. But that's something else. So the thing about art is that art is articulation. This is where we get the word articulation. So all forms of art are a way to articulate something. This is why art can be anything, from a picture to fashion to drawing to dancing or anything like that. So art is articulation. So to articulate is to be able to speak. This is articulance. How you're able to pronounce words, how you're able to use words. This is articulation. So this is why life is art. This is why we sing How Great Thou Art, how great thou articulation, how great thou word. Because everything will boil down to that word, the word of God. So that is the art that we live. So this articulation is what we call life. And life is art. And to live artfully is wisdom. To live with art is wisdom. So every field of study and every subject is an art because it has words that are attached to it. Like science is an art, music is an art, swimming is an art, everything is an art because it's articulation. So understanding articulation is very important. So now we look at how people in history have been able to articulate themselves, and we can take an example of someone like Da Vinci. All right, we can take an example of someone like the Wright brothers. So they're all articulating something. It's all articulation. It's all art. A plane is art. A building is art. Everything is an articulation. So if we look at someone like Da Vinci, all right, this is the Renaissance man, the original person who is a polyglot, a polymath, sorry, and he is regarded as a person who did everything, anything. He was a lot of things. He was a lot of things, from an inventor, a musician, a writer, a sculptor, an artist, a painter, a botanist, like an astrologer, everything. So he was very articulate because he used to know that. So all forms of genius. So he's regarded as the genius of our the genius that we actually know, all right, of our in our remembrance. The genius that we know is Leonardo da Vinci because he was able to articulate. So what is the ability of his genius? He was an artist. We know him as an artist because he's an articulator. So what is the thing about his genius that makes him so so captivating? So if you look at any genius, be it Freud or whoever, a person who understands what he's doing and does what he's doing for whatever purpose he has, but impacts the world. Even Hitler, whoever it is, a person who is able to to gain influence, to gain power, to do whatever they're doing in order to do that, selfish or altruistic, Genghis Khan, Alexander, whoever it is. These people are people who are at one with the principles of the universe. They understand. They understand. They understand. They understand what the articulation is. They understand the words. They understand what is life about. So genius is that. Genius is that understanding. Genius is understanding what underlies everything, understanding everything that is in the universe. So genius is a gene. So the gene that we call the gene that forms everybody is where we get genius from. So gene is gene in I and us. So a genius is a person who understands the gene in him and then he uses that to do something for us. So genius leads to generation, to generate an idea, to generate a person. So everything is that. So everything is a generation. So there's a mother and there's a child. So the cause is the mother, the child is the effect. But once the child is born, the child is an effect onto is a cause onto its own, even though he's actually an effect. So generations to generations. So these are genes to genes. So everything that is being generated is that genius. the genius of God, the genius of his thought. So this is where we get the word Genesis. So when we're reading about the story of creation and the garden, we're talking about a gene. Because at the end of the book, or at the end of the creation story, what happens that they sinned, God came, and then he said that your seed, your gene, will be at war with the devil's seed and with his gene. So it's all still about the genes. So the genes, the genealogy, is the Genesis that we're talking about. So Genesis means to start something. So this is the beginning of all things. So a genius is a person who knows the beginning of all things. He knows where it starts, right? Although everyone who is able to understand the beginning of a thing does not necessarily mean that is a good person or a bad person, but this is just a fact. The people who are geniuses know the beginnings. They know the beginnings, because from the beginning you can get the end. Okay, so this is how you can like sort of know, if I say that I have a headache to a doctor is going to give me a pill that's called the blue pill, right? So then I go to a pharmacy and then I say, hey, I want a blue pill, can you give me a blue pill? And then they're like, oh, okay, I bet you have a headache, right? So you can know the truth from the beginning, and you can know the truth from the end. So you don't necessarily need to know everything if you know one thing. That's why people reverse engineer certain things that they see. Like if you drop if an alien drops a spaceship, they can reverse engineer it. So genius is all about that. So genius is that. So genius is your gene. So everybody has genes. So everybody has genius. This is how you're able to live, and this is how you actually survive. So you have to understand that you're already a genius. You're already a genius. It's genetic, because you're already caused by a generation. So in this generation, our genius will be determined by our contribution to the society. So genius is the gene, I, us. So whatever you will do for the people around you, this will determine your genius and how you're able to express that. So when we talk about genius, we're talking about generations, right? And we're also talking about general. This is where we get general. So general is something that is common to all of us. Say like the general idea, right? The common idea. So this is general. This is the gene, the general idea. So the general of an army is the one who actually commands the army. He's the one who sends them to war. So this gene is what commands our ideas. This gene is what commands everything that we are doing. So understand that. So when we're talking about gene, we're also talking about genetics general, right? And then we're also talking about genial. So to be genial is to be kind, right? So we talk about genial, we talk about gentle. So to be genial is when you are using your own personal traits in order to be more appealing to the people around you. You have to be genial if you want to be regarded as someone who's warm, right? Someone who's confident, someone who's expressive. And if you want your ideas to be accepted by others, you have to be genial, all right? So also being gentle. So this is where we get gentleman. So a gentleman was first of all using the aristocratic classes, like back in the day when they had different classes. They have the king, they have the clergy, then they have the different strata in their society. So in their society, the king's at the top, and then the church after that. But then below that there was the nobility. So the nobility were called gentlemen. All right. So a nobility is a highborn. So when we're talking about your gentleness, a gentleman is a nobleman. This is what we're talking about. Gentleman is a nobleman. So when you're a gentleman, when you're gentle, when you're genial, it means that you're exposing your better traits. All right. So from that noble, this is where we get the power of honor. This is where we get the power of honor. So yeah, if I don't want to think about Ned Stark, but if we look about it at Game of Thrones, that type of honor gave him that type of power. But someone like Littlefinger is a person who got into the nobility, but then his ideas were not so noble. So this is nobility. All right. So this is nobility is our our right as people. We're not the king, we're not the angels, but we're a highborn. because of the gene. So this is where we get gentle, gentleman, gentlewoman. This is also valid. So so everything that we're doing is focused on genes because everything is about that art. So even when we talk about the word like genie, so the genie, the one who grants the wishes, comes from that gene, the genius. So God is not a genie, but He's everything in all. So it's all about understanding the articulants, and being at one with that, because all is art, and that art is the word. So that word is what we are actually impacting, is what is in our lives, is what is in our hearts, in our minds, and in everything. The art. So how great thou art. We are the articulation, and life is an art. So the more that you're actually able to do this art, to learn this art of living, to be part of the art, then you'll be able to do more than you can ever imagine is possible by knowing the gene, the genesis, the general. Because everything that is happening in your life is caused by your generation. So something might have happened throughout the ages in your generation, in your bloodline, that is affecting your genes today. So you need to understand what that is. You need to understand your past for you to know your future. So your fathers, your forefathers might have done something affecting your genes because that is where it all starts. That's where it all started. So this genetic imprint, this genetic problem could be what is affecting you today. So for you to be able to overcome that, you need information. So genes store information. So information come in formation, and they form your inner. They are your inner formation. So your inner formation is what needs to be restored. So this is why your knowledge is going to set you free. Knowing that will set you free. So when you know that through your information, then you'll be able to be set free from that. Then you have to act on that, because everything is trapped in that information in the gene. So maybe it's not moving in the right formation. This is why you need the general to make the move in the right formation, the gene to make it move in the right formation. So everything that is informed your life and all of your knowledge will come into question, because everything that has happened in the past is happening now, because the mother, the child. So if the mother was sick of sick with something that affects her genes, that could still be in the child's genes, and that would be in the child's genes. So something that is also spiritual affects us in the same way. It's general to the bloodline. It's general to them. So if you have some general problems that you've seen your parents having or your uncles having, it might be something like that we're talking about. So you have to be able to get to the root of the problem, but knowledge is going to set you free. My people perish from a lack of knowledge. But if you have the knowledge, then you have the tool to change the information and to unlock a certain formation in you, because you're able to do that. There is nothing beyond your power. There's nothing beyond your control, and that is your genius. That is your genius. So you could be the salvation of your whole entire generation. You could be the salvation of your bloodline. You could be the salvation of your children and your family. So take this seriously and change the way your life is articulated. Change the art of your life and live well. Be at peace.